Welcome to the Heal Yourself podcast, where we dive deep into all things healing. I'm Denise, a speech language pathologist and a self-love coach for adults and teens.
And I'm Kira, a traditional naturopath and functional nutritionist, and we are here to guide you through the transformative process of healing your body, mind, and soul.
From the latest in functional medicine to nurturing your relationship with yourself, healing trauma, and even transforming your money story, we're here to empower you with the knowledge and tools to create lasting change.
So whether you're looking to heal physically, emotionally, or spiritually, join us as we explore the many paths to wholeness and wellness. Welcome back to another episode. I am really excited because we have our first guest today. Unfortunately, Denise could not be here, but I am speaking with Emily Mahler. She is a wife, mother of 3 energetic boys, and a lover of all things wellness related. She's passionate about empowering you in your wellness journey. Emily loves making new friends, networking, developing deep relationships, and for over 10 years, she's been empowering the community with wellness tools, tips, and resources. I can attest to that myself. And she's connecting clients to other professionals to further their wellness and is learning more about how the mind, body, and soul are connected. Emily, you're our first guest, and we've known each other for a while, so that doesn't surprise me. Do you want to share anything else about yourself and your journey?
I think the biggest thing I've been, I guess reminding people, especially as I've been meeting new people and, as you start to like share things and you give answers, people think that you know everything. And I'm like, listen, I don't know everything. I'm still on my own journey. We aren't eating perfectly. Our life is just mass chaos right now because things keep changing in our lives. But that has really shifted a lot of my life because I'm learning how to slow down a little bit more and take it day by day. People want these like quick and fast answers, and it's not, you're going to be healed tomorrow. It's what is the steps for today? What are the steps for tomorrow? And taking it day by day, because we can learn and we can start applying, but we're not going to be perfect overnight. Mm-hmm. And perfection isn't necessarily what we're striving for either, because striving for that perfection, you have the like lack and the stress of trying to be perfect, and that is not helpful for the body either. So I like to just remind people that like I'm on a journey too, and I preach a lot of really good stuff, but it's stuff I'm still working on too. I'm preaching it to myself as well every single time I share something. So that's a piece of it.
I love your transparency though, and I'm the same way, and Denise is the same way. Mm-hmm. We're always sharing that, look, we're not perfect. We're on our journey. Like life is a journey. We're always in growth. And that is one issue I have out in the social media influencer space is so many are like, I eat the perfect diet. I can't tell you how many posts I see on a regular basis that are almost chastising others. I'm like, that's not a way to encourage people. And in fact, if you think you've got it all like nailed down, there's no room for growth. Like you're just done.
Right. And I think a lot of those people too are like, I've tried everything and everything's perfect, but like, I'm still not healing. So it's like, okay, then what are we missing? Or I just saw your post about like fasting, how it could be for you. It could not be for you. It could make it worse. And people, and the one comment was like, it's so confusing. And I think that is one of my struggles when I'm sharing content, because I don't want it to be confusing. And that's why I also shifted my own business to more of like the foundations, which is eat cleaner, get enough sleep, work on your emotions, like all of these foundational pieces that people are just like, well, I don't have time for that. Well, if you don't have time for that, you're not going to heal. So like, I don't know what to tell you. And that's what, like, sleep is my current, like, I don't want to say obsession, but like, it's what I'm working on right now, because I know that that is a big area for me that I know that it's going to turn over a positive ROI if I'm getting better sleep, if I'm getting to bed earlier, all of those things. And it's something that I can currently do. So I'm like, all right, this is the part that I'm just going to have to work on. It sucks because I feel like I don't have my nighttime to myself anymore. But like, I need the sleep. Like, it's just, it's been a shift. I'm on like week 2. And then of course I did it over the time change. So that was like, it's so fun. Anyway, and like leaning into like the seasonal aspect of like we're into winter now. So like, well, not really, but like we're into the dark season with time change here in the US, for those who have states that do that. It's dark at 6 o'clock now. So it's like, okay, now I can get my kids to bed a little earlier because while the one can tell time, the other one can't. So I'm like, hey, it's dark. That means it's time for bed. So see ya. And so getting them to bed a little bit earlier, which is beneficial for them, and then working on getting myself to get to bed earlier. But we have to do those foundations, and then we can start looking into fasting or different supplements or minerals, and like learning how and what our body needs. And I liked your comment, which was listen to your body. Mm-hmm. We've gotten so detached from like, okay, does this food make me feel good or does it make me feel bad? Yeah. It's really as simple as that. I know some people have used the heart math, which is just feeling your pulse to see if you have a reaction to a food. Like, but really just like feel into it. Like we just had lasagna and I'm like, I'm a little full. I had also like way too much. But I knew that as I was eating more, but I was like, this is good. Anyway, that's where I'm at there.
Well, and that foundational piece is huge, and it's the same. There's so much information online. And I think that's what creates the overwhelm of, hey, there's fasting. Hey, you got to fast in the morning. No, you got to fast at night. No, you can't fast if you're a woman. Like there's 20 different opinions around everything out there. So no wonder people are confused. But like you said, start with the foundations. Like if you don't even know what a healthy, clean diet looks like, and you're not listening to your body and you bloat every time you eat XYZ, why are you even bothering with fasting right now? Just nail down the basics.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I know today we're talking about energy. And for some people, it's like, what the heck is energy? What does that have to do with health? So give me some background, because the first time you told me about it, I'm going to be honest, I was like, what is this woo-woo nonsense? And now I'm a believer too, obviously. But like, tell me what energy medicine is and how you even got into it.
I don't even know how I got into it. And everyone asks me, I'm like, I don't know. It started with essential oils. And somehow I cascaded into the realm of things where people are like, I don't understand what you're saying. Somebody just sent me a reel, and it was this like cow with its tongue going all over the place. And it was like what people think you're saying or hear whenever you're talking about quantum healing. And I'm like, that's so accurate. And I actually have a new client who I love, and she's been very proactive in her health. And she's like been reading the reports and stuff that I do. And she's like, I don't understand. Like, what does this mean? I'm like, we have to separate the quantum from the physical, like, but we can bridge it too. So it's like all of this fun stuff. So I started learning a little bit about frequency back when I did oils. One of the other ladies locally that was doing stuff, she was a piano teacher, and she went to an essential oil class that talked, I think it was a symphony of the cells or something, that was based on the energetics of essential oils. And she was explaining stuff, and for her it connected because of the music piece and how everything has like a tone and a note and a frequency. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then throughout the years, I've talked to different people, like been around people who do Reiki, all different types of energy healings. And the software that I use, I had been following someone for like 9 months, been seeing all of their results, and I'm like, I need this thing. And the price really isn't bad, especially when you see all that it does. It was the like, but I don't know how I'm going to afford it. Like kind of having that lack mentality. And back when I first got it, you had to purchase their device. You couldn't just get the subscription on your phone. So it was like an $800 for me to start. But I was like, all right, we had scheduled so many demo calls so that I could see it and try it out for myself. And every single one, either something happened with my kids, something happened with her, like it just kept getting delayed. So finally that year, at the end of that year, it was November 2021. Yeah, November 2021. I finally was like, forget it. Like, I'm getting it. Like, I don't need the demo. I've seen enough stuff. It's time to get it. So I texted her and was like, hey, I just want to put it out there that it's my goal to get this by the end of the year. And I've been into a lot of like manifesting, laws of the universe, like all of that kind of stuff throughout this period of 10 years. And so within 2 weeks, I figured out how to pull the $800 together. I sold extra essential oils. I had been selling Color Street. So like I sold all of those off. Like I like sold random stuff. Like somehow I came up with $800 and I was like, all right, well that worked. And that shows how powerful the mind can be too. When you're like, okay, I got to look for this money and it's going to be here. Some of those things I need to do now again, but, so I got the software and I started using it, and I have to remind myself when I'm working with new people that quantum and energy stuff doesn't come naturally for everyone, especially when you're a logical thinker, when you're like, I need to see this and this and they need to work. And that's not how energy works. That's not how anything really works. Like we don't, like, how does someone just miraculously get healed, that kind of thing. So when I kind of bring it down to the basics with frequency, I start with like everything is frequency. The smallest particle is an atom, and 99 I think percent of that is space. It's energy. It's an electric charge. And that part is what's like starting to nerd me out, because I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's all the stuff I didn't really care about in science that I'm like, I wish I would have retained this. So I'm like kind of going back to those basics of like, it's just basics. So everything has an energetic frequency. So whether that's this plastic table that my phone is sitting on, whether that is specific cells in my heart, specific cells in my knee, whether that's my tone of voice, whether that is my phone connecting to your phone to create the Zoom call. Like there is frequency all around us. A really side note, whenever I had some type of like educational thing on for my kids, and it was talking about thunder and lightning, and how whenever the lightning hits the ground, it's that electrical charge and like all the stuff that causes this boom. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Like it was just like understanding the negative and positive ions and electrons and neutrons and protons and all of that. It's so fascinating. So understanding that everything has that frequency. A plant has a specific frequency. The foods when you're cooking have a specific frequency. Emotions, all of that. So I really bring it down to like, that's the basis. So we can shift things with our thoughts. We can shift things with the way that we are thinking about things or doing things. That's essentially what's having that shift is the frequencies. I don't know how much deeper you want me to go, or if there's any more that you want me to elaborate on.
No, I think that's a perfect explanation. So let's break it down for the listeners a little bit more. Then, like, how do people start to recognize these frequencies or these imbalances in their bodies?
I love that question. I personally use a software that is really helpful for doing that. It looks at the entire physicists, which are like way smarter than me, over years and decades have created this blueprint of the human body and what cells, specific organs, all of the tissues, skeletal systems, all of that, what vibration they should be vibrating at. So the software that I use looks at those imbalances. It takes a voice scan and then looks at the imbalances against that blueprint. So then it shows if it's high or low. I think that we as human beings have the potential to not use that device. Many people do things without a device, but a lot of that comes to getting centered, being able to feel those subtle shifts, that subtle, is this the right decision for me right now? Really like weird example happened last night. There was a part we had soccer shots last night for my one son, and it was in a new location. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to park right there. But I hesitated. And I'm starting to learn when I hesitate, I need to make another decision. I need to just not push through. And so I parked in this specific parking spot thinking, I think I have enough space between both, but we should be good. In theory, we should have been good. We should not have hit doors if everybody was behaving on their best behavior. Things were fine. We got in. Kids played, or the one kid played soccer shots. We got through the day. Came back out, and my other son did not want to let my oldest in the car, and like was kicking him in the face. And I'm like, dude, like this is not okay. And then meanwhile, that door is doing a lot of movement.
Oh.
The guy is in the car that's beside me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm screaming at my children. And like it was just mass chaos, and it put me in a very bad mood because I was like, come on, like we just did something fun. Why are you being like this? But if I would have listened to that little subtle, hey, just park at the end of the line, I would have had that situation.
Yeah.
You know, and so like, and those are situations I'm constantly like looking back at that, like, did I listen to that small, still voice inside of me, or did I like just ignore it because I wanted to park closer because it was cold? Like that was why I parked where I did. And that really takes that like slowing down and being intentional with like how we're feeling. Just those little slight nudges. Is this food going to make me feel good? Is it not? And then if you know that it's not, knowing that ahead of time, knowing what precautions you can take or shifts that or knowing that you're going to have to deal with something later, just really like getting aware and being present with your body.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's huge because it's tapping into intuition, which we all have. We just a lot of times ignore it or, taught that it's not something to use. I mean, as kids, we're very intuitive and it's like life hits us, we get older and we just ignore that.
Yeah.
My question is, how do you teach people to do this with their own bodies? Like, how are you even utilizing frequencies with them?
Oh, that's a hard one because it's an area that I want to do better at supporting people through. I really rely heavily on the device, and teaching them how to use that and looking for shifts in their body at more of like a system level. So like, okay, are your hormones out of balance? And then like, here's some things to be aware of. People don't want to slow down often. So it's difficult for me to answer that question. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I don't always want to slow down to like be observant to the situation. But some of the things that we discuss in my membership is like taking pauses. Just take some pauses throughout the day. They don't even have to be long. They could be 5-second pauses to just like tap in real quick. And if you feel led to like let that pause be a little bit longer, do it. But if you really only have like, if we can't take 5 seconds, like we're not going to work on our healing journey. If we're not going to take a few deep breaths throughout the day, like that's not going to support us. We need oxygen in our body. And the more we can breathe, the better that we can make better decisions, like all of those things. So I kind of just share with everyone like that slowing down aspect of like getting outside in the sunlight, getting our circadian rhythm on point, all of those things that like, are good for you. It's not rocket science. It's not hard concepts. That's something I talked about when I launched my new like 8 weeks was like, hey guys, like I'm not teaching you anything you don't know. Yeah. It's all stuff that we know. Some of it might be new, but really it's not new. It's basic stuff. We just need to re-tap into it. So yeah, just that getting slower piece, utilizing tools and resources. The software that I use, I send frequencies to people as well. So there's lots of different frequencies for calm and like inner peace and that kind of stuff. So depending on what their goals are, we kind of tailor those to them as well. But
and I love the software. I use it myself. I'm curious for you because you're using it a lot more with clients than I typically do. Do you find that when you run these scans and you find imbalances in people that they're more apt to make some changes on their own too?
It really depends on the person.
There was
Yes
a
and
pause.
the people in my membership are proactively working on things. I do see the work they're putting onto it. So I do kind of two things. I have my membership, which is just all about the foundations, and then I have my broadcasting clients. So I broadcast these frequencies to people every day. The broadcasting clients aren't as interested in making the changes, in the slowing down. Because I'm utilizing the frequencies to support them, and they see the difference. So they're like, oh, okay. But there's some of those clients, I'm like, I want you to like really think through this. Like I had someone message me today and she was like, hey, whatever you were doing last week was amazing. This week I just am not feeling anything. Like I'm not, like, she's having some issues with her shoulder again. And I'm like, I didn't change anything. So, like, me, I'm like, okay, are you under more stress? Is something else going on? Did you eat a little bit different? The weather's changing back and forth again. Is it the weather? Like there's so many factors. And but I think people are starting to want more of the like, okay, it's time to slow down. I mean, me myself, like I've been teaching this stuff again for 10 years. Sleep has not been something I've ever worked on. And I'm like, hey, I know that I need to. I have the book up there, Why We Sleep, and it's one of my books that I want to start reading soon because I know why it's good for us, but it'd be cool to read the science. I think that also helps some people too, whenever they start learning the whys, like the sunlight piece. I mean, when I started diving into a little more of the content we both have been following, Carrie and Sarah, and it just makes so much sense. And I'm like, oh, okay. So this is why I need sunlight in the morning. And hey, time to set my circadian clock in the morning. Am I doing it every morning? Nope, because it's weird, the timing. But now it's getting light earlier in the morning because of the time shift. So I can get back to doing it. But for a little while there, I was like, I'm waking up and it's dark outside. So like I'm already on my computer because I'm working and like this is the only time I have to work. But yeah. So I think it really comes down to that individual, like, are people ready to put in the work? Or are they not? If they are ready to put in the work, I do think they're utilizing the scans and the seeing the imbalances and seeing, okay, what makes sense, what doesn't. Stuff that's coming up for me a lot lately has been hormones, thyroid, which I'm breastfeeding. I don't have a period. Like there's a lot going on with me. So like, it makes so much sense, but I know that I need to work on those foundations first before really pursuing anything else. Because if I can't get some of those foundations down, like my hormones aren't going to regulate. If I'm not getting enough sleep, if I'm not getting the sun in the morning, if I'm staying inside all day staring at a screen. So anyway, that kind of answers the question.
Well, and not how, but what results have you seen for people using these frequencies?
So many. It really depends on what they're going for. So lots of like pain relief, which is amazing. And in various areas like the shoulder, the knee, the hips, sciatica kind of nerve. I'm working with a client that has some like nerve pain, and so it's been easing slightly, which is at least something for her. I have seen, oh goodness, I know I have to be careful with things that I say. Lots of respiratory support. Any type of like when my kids are coughing, I'll just throw on some frequencies for coughing and it typically like stops or slows it down a little bit. Reducing body temperature.
A lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, hormone, there are some hormone ones, and I really need to start doing the hormone ones again. I had been doing hormone ones for myself for a while, and like, but that was like right after pregnancy. And my friend was like, do you think you should be doing all these? And I'm like, maybe not. So I did take a break, and I think I need to put those back on. But I have seen people like, they've got their insane cycles where like, they're like, want to kill everybody, and like they were okay with themselves. They were like, I'm okay, like I feel good and I don't feel like I want to kill anyone. I'm like, that's really good. Like, so lots of different things. I mean, I could go on and on. Some of them I can't really share because lots of respiratory stuff has been great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I love that because it's not like, hey, go take these supplements, go do this, go do that. It's frequency. It's just a natural thing that's happening all around us.
Yeah. And I think that that's sometimes what people struggle with because it's like they're like, well, how does like this frequency that you're like pushing a button on your computer doing to my body? And I'm like, scalar waves, quantum physics, everything's connected.
Yeah, how are we talking on Zoom right now? Like you said it
Right.
too, but that's always my thing. I'm like, well, how are we doing that? It's frequency.
Yeah. How do we stream any freaking movie we
Yeah.
want on the TV that's been recorded 100 years ago? You know,
Mhm.
like all of those things. And one of the things I had thought, oh, and then, and I could talk to you about this. Other people are like, what is she smoking? And I have only smoked one cigarette in my life, so nothing. Is understanding the idea of water and the liquid crystalline structure of our water in our body and how that's an antenna. And I'm like, it's how we're interacting with each other, with the things and the stimuli around us. How if you walk into a room and you're like, I don't feel safe here, I think I should turn around. Those are all frequencies. And that it's so fascinating to see and understand like that whole idea of your body being an antenna for frequency. Especially if you're into other thoughts and theories. You know, you're like, wait, I don't want to be that. But like that's how we were created. Like that's what we are. We are always going to be interacting with the feedback around us. Which is just so fascinating to me. And it's stuff that I love to like talk about forever.
Yeah, the water piece is huge. I learned that a few years ago when I got trained in energy testing, which is like sort of like body code, emotion code, but slightly different. And she would always tell us, you need to be hydrated and tell your clients to have a large glass of water before you do the energy testing, because that's the same thing. We're an antenna. We're trying to connect. And if we're dehydrated, not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and learning about like the positive and negative ions aspect throughout our body and polarity and all of that. Like it's all connected. People think that type of like is that like a muscle testing kinesiology?
Sort of, but it's using a pendulum and it's
Oh, yeah.
remote. It's remote.
Yeah.
So
Right. And people are like, how do you do that? It's
I don't
energy.
know.
Like I like the people who already kind of have an idea of what Reiki is. Cause like, have you ever done distance Reiki? Like it's similar to that, but with software. Because we do. I mean, you think about like when you're wishing someone well versus when you're wishing someone not well, you know, like those are energies and frequencies we're sending out to those people. That's why we're supposed to be very careful with our words and thoughts and all of that. It's so fascinating to talk about.
Well, so I'm going to say my final question, probably going to ask you another one still, but how do you see like the future of alternative health changing along with this energy medicine? Because I'm seeing, and maybe it's just me and my feed because that's what I'm interested in, but I'm seeing more and more practitioners starting to get into this energy medicine, whether it's these devices, energy testing, something else entirely.
Absolutely. I think that as more people are open to it, I think that practitioners are really starting to see the shift. I mean, you've been one that I've loved watching your journey from 5 years ago to now, you know, talking just about gut health to like, oh wait, there's more to the puzzle and here's the HTMA and oh wait, we got to work on the like the meditation and the hypnosis, the what we're telling ourselves, the subconscious mind. Like more and more people are starting to be very aware of like all of that holistic aspect. And it's stuff that like I think a lot more people really know, they just haven't tapped into. And because it makes sense, like I don't know, and my personality type is like, oh, this makes sense. Like I don't need 500 research papers to say, hey, like this exists. It makes sense to me. And I think that as more practitioners shift to it, as it becomes more open to people, but I also think that another aspect is that people are freaking tired of getting the runaround and they're starting to take that health back into their own hands. And I know even in your group and different places that we're like commingling, it just really sucks because I think some of those practitioners have not gotten to where you're at. And I'm like, and then they do people a disservice. Like I have so many people, I have referred countless people to you. I think maybe one has gone to you. And I'm just like, if you would just go to her, you would like, it would be great because like you'd get the answers that you're looking for. But they have to want to do the work. They have to want to be able to be ready for that. And some of them, you know, have ended up investing in other practitioners that just didn't work great. And I'm like, that's because they aren't looking at the whole body. They're not delivering what they promised. But you also have to, I love that you have always been like, hey, I'm more of a guide and mentor. You still have to do the work. I can't be in your house telling you what to do. And I think that that is a big piece of the energy medicine too, is like as people really start tapping into their own ability to self-heal, their own ability to learn about herbs by themselves. If they want to learn about essential oils, if they want to learn about food, we literally have everything we could ever want to learn about at our fingertips on our phone.
Yep.
It is so quick to look up what herbs are good for parasites, what herbs are good for viruses, what herbs are good for bacteria, and then either utilize the herb in a tea, a tincture, anything. Like there's so many ways to utilize the knowledge we have at our fingertips. So I think that that'll be a big piece of it too, is people understanding how that frequency and energy works. A lot of people are doing a lot more healing from traumatic past kind of thing, like oh my gosh, my brain.
Childhood trauma.
Yeah. You know, like working through that. And like, that's part of energy. And as they, you know, start clearing some of that, they'll have ability to kind of see other things more clearly. You know, as you start connecting the dots of your past, of your present, of, you know, all the things going on in your life, it just kind of starts coming. And I would say there's going to be plenty that do software, plenty that figure out different uses with pendulums, plenty that just are intuitive. You know, you just get those feelings and nudges and you're like, you know what, I think I'm going to go with that. And learning how to play. I think that that is something people want, this like cut and dry, here's the 10-step process, but that's not what life is. Life is a journey. We are going to be changing and doing different things. Like back in 2019, 2018, that was like the healthiest of my life I've ever been. I was eating super great, was starting to run, and then I got pregnant, and then I couldn't run. And then like our life has just had multiple challenges and changes and continues, and that's part of life. So learning to go with those ebbs and flows, do the best that we can, and just trusting that process, that like we're on this journey of life. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can play with it. We can experiment with using a pendulum. We can use a software. We don't have to stay tied to something for the rest of our life. Like use the tools and resources that are going to serve you the best in this moment. And if they continue forever, awesome. If not, like you're going to have to play with them. Like that's the one thing I will say, that learning how to use a pendulum, understanding a lot of energy for yourself and your intuition is going to go 10 times further if the grid goes down and you don't have access to a phone. You know, like that's the one thing with the software. I love it, but if there's no service, there's no software, you know? So anyway, that's my long answer there.
Yeah. No, but I think it's going to continue to take off more. Like you said, as people are realizing like, oh, wait, I have all this ability to heal myself, because I think we have given our power away. And I was there myself, you know, over a decade ago, when it was like, I'm desperate for answers. Test me, give me the supplements, tell me what to do. And it was always, you tell me what to do, not teach me, show me what I need, guide me, and allow me to take things into my own hands, because I didn't trust myself. And I think as people start to trust themselves more and realize that like no practitioner heals, it doesn't work that way. I don't care. You can go to the best doctor out there. They're not healing you. That's an inside job. And as more people recognize that, the more they're going to turn to the energy piece.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely agree.
Oh, well, I love this conversation. How can people connect with you if they want to learn more about software, they want to follow you, or be in your wellness space?
Yes. So the social media handles for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok are the Wellness Community SoCo, which is SOCO. Or I will give out my phone number because it's a business phone number. So I can block it real easy if you're scamming me. Is 814-701-3939. And the first text message you'll get is like you can unsubscribe anytime because it's a software that I use. But then I respond to all of the text messages and am there to answer questions or chat. I have a membership and I do one-on-one services. I call myself a wellness mentor because I'm not there to do all of the things for you, but I can give you a lot of good information and continually refer you back to the foundational principles to start with. So, yeah.
Tricky.
Yes.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys on the next episode.